So today's speaker is Erin Stone. Hi, Erin. Erin is a Naval Academy class of 1988, and she's a program director for Council and Chapter Affairs at MOAA. That's the Military Officers Association of America. So this is, I mean, in my case anyway, this was a very interesting organization that I'd barely ever heard of, and I didn't realize until I met Erin and she told me a little bit about it, just how much work MOAA does every day on my behalf as a former military officer, and also obviously for all of you. So Erin, welcome. Erin's going to introduce MOAA and tell us a bit about the organization, what the organization does for us, and also how we can get involved. So Erin, welcome to the meetup. I see you're off mute, and please tell us about yourself and tell us about MOAA.
Thank you, Jason, and thanks everybody for having me today. I see a handful of 88ers, so thanks Navy for coming out and some former shipmates. Right. I want to, Jason, you asked me to remind you if I could share the screen. Can I do that now?
Oh yeah, you got you. Hang on just a moment.
Okay. I'm not going to do death by
Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay, great. I just wanted to maybe frame my remarks a little bit. Let's see, here we go. All right, hang on one sec. Slideshow, where am I? Current slide, okay.
I can see your slides.
There we go. Okay, awesome. So this is our building. It's beautiful. It was just redone in November. It's right in the heart of Old Town Alexandria, and it is currently empty. We have a staff of 82 of us who work there. About a third of us are retired military. So this was my first stop after 29 years in the Navy. I kind of refer to it as my halfway house because it's not quite a civilian organization. It's really a nice hybrid between military and nonprofit. Just a little bit about my background. I was a JAG for 20 of my 29 years after going through the law education program. Was commissioned initially as a general unrestricted line officer, not knowing what I wanted to do. But anyway, so ended up in the JAG Corps, had a wonderful time. My last tour was actually as the SJA at the Academy, which was a nice bookend for me. But when I looked back and I said, okay, this is a great opportunity to try something completely different, I tried to examine what I liked about my job. It wasn't that I didn't like practicing law, but I didn't see me transitioning into, a partner level. You can't really do that in a law firm. Didn't know enough about other areas of law, so I wasn't sure that was going to work out for me. But when I looked back at what I really enjoyed about my time as an attorney, I was actually a litigation specialist and spent most of my time as a criminal defense attorney. And I loved that. I also loved being an SJA, and the common factor was not the criminality, but it was that it was helping people. So whether I was an EA to an admiral, or I was defending somebody who was accused of some horrendous crime, in the end, it was just very fulfilling for me to help somebody. And so that kind of led me to the nonprofit sector, did an awful lot of networking, planned to take 2 months off for my transition leave, and then start working. As it worked out, I was at about 7 months and thinking I was never going to get a job when MOAA called. And I had actually joined MOAA when I was transitioning for some assistance in trying to get my resume together, learning how to network, that kind of thing. And one of the VPs who I'd connected with and stayed connected with actually gave me a call and said, hey, are you still looking for a job? Because we have something here, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but it was essentially helping other people, other military folks who had spent 5 years or 30 years or more and trying to transition them into their first civilian career. So I'd made all the mistakes, I'd figured things out the hard way. So it was pretty easy to be able to tell people, kind of steer them in the right direction to get them on their own transition. And then an opportunity came up about 1.5 years ago, and I transitioned into our council and chapter affairs, still not practicing law, but really, really enjoying my time there. We have about 400 councils and chapters around the country. Not sure how many of you know that. I can only see a couple people on my screen right now, which is okay, but can I get like a show of hands? Are there people who have like never heard of MOAA? That's good. I don't see any hands from where I am. How many people members? Okay, great. So you guys know what we do. We are an advocacy organization. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. Primarily, this is our #1 mission. But out of 82 people on the staff, there are 11 of us, not me, who are lobbyists. And this is our CEO that you see there on the left side of the screen, talking with one of our elected officials. We have transitioned quite well. As I mentioned, our entire staff is really working from home, and our lobbyists, which includes our CEO, are working just as hard and just as effectively as they can for the availability of our Congress people right now, but they are talking to people. And these are some of the things on the right side of the screen there that we work for. Some of you may or may not know, there are about 45,000 organizations that work for military and veterans, families, etc. MOAA is the largest. We're actually 350,000 members strong. We only advocate for the things like you see there on the right. So military pay and benefits. It's all about the people. Our motto is never stop serving. And essentially, even though only officers can be members, we are advocating for everybody, which includes our 8, believe it or not, uniformed services, active duty, Guard, Reserve, family members, surviving spouses, everybody. And so we continue to serve those people that we said we would serve when we raised our right hand in the first place. So these are the kinds of things. One thing I never knew, I took advantage of it myself, was the transferability of your GI Bill. For those of you who were in, I guess it probably happened like 10 years ago or so now. But that was a huge benefit for those of us who probably wouldn't have used the GI Bill, maybe to go back to school ourselves, but I transferred mine to my kids. MOAA was a big proponent of that and pushes those kinds of things. So these are the things that we do for everybody based on our member input, and we represent our members this way on Capitol Hill. So let's see. So what do we do for our members? I guess the second kind of function that we have, the second biggest function, if you will, is keeping our members informed. So if you are a member, you know that you get this magazine every month. A lot of our older members particularly think this is one of the best benefits. It's a piece of paper that they get every month, and they look through it. As you can see, like right there is the dental insurance plan for FedVIP. So very helpful kinds of information in there. We also have an electronic newsletter, and the electronic, both the magazine and the electronic newsletter really allow our members to stay informed about what's going on in the military and the veteran community, things that impact us every day. For example, the electronic newsletter this morning is awesome. I haven't had an opportunity yet to read it myself, but today's electronic newsletter has answers that were posed by MOAA to the 3 main presidential candidates and their answers with regard to military and veteran issues. So if you are a member and you're not getting that electronic, well, first of all, you should be getting the magazine. If you're not getting that, let me know. But if you're not getting that electronic newsletter, please let me know that as well. In fact, I'll talk a little bit about membership here in a couple minutes, but we have 3 levels of membership. We now have a free unlimited duration membership, which is called a basic member. You won't get this fancy magazine, but you will get the electronic newsletter. And so if you're not getting that, if you're not at least a MOAA basic member, I really urge you to do that because you can stay informed. And we'll also do surveys and things like that too. Like the magazine, for example, will often have cards in there that are pre-addressed to your elected officials. And so all you got to do is sign your name and send it in to make sure that your number is counted on a particular issue. And the same with the electronic newsletter. We'll have calls to action in there, and it'll tell you exactly who you need to talk to and what you need to say about particular issues. One of the things, besides the GI Bill, last year we were successful in repealing the widow's tax. Some of you may have seen that, but that was a huge win. We'd been working for that for a very long time. And so we're doing some good work. Our lobbyists do a great job. And then our comms department does a great job kind of getting everybody, all 350 of those members, 350,000 of those members involved. So that's number 2. And then let's see, number 3. Okay, so this might be of interest to many of you who are joining because you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I doing for my next career, or even if I've been out for a while, maybe I'm looking for some career advancement, maybe I'm looking for some business development. Our member value for people in my peer group, in my demographic, this is one of our number 1 benefits, is our transition assistance program. So I will tell you that our membership cost for a year of membership is $48. You get anytime you want it, you can get a LinkedIn profile review, you can get a resume review. We have lots of classes, we have lots of webinars. Those are usually free. But this event that you see down here, unfortunately, didn't occur this year, but annually in September, we have the entire Air and Space Museum after hours. We put adult beverages and we put out appetizers, and you just walk around and talk to employers. And we have panels of people, and it's really a phenomenal event. That's free too, believe it or not. So all of that stuff, if you think about, if you go out and pay somebody to do your resume, to help you with your resume, it's going to cost you a heck of a lot more than $48. So that's what hooked me into MOAA in the first place. And it actually does, that's where we get a lot of our members, is when they're retiring. But we have an awful lot of benefits for everybody in all the demographics as well. In fact, that's what I loved when I got to MOAA and they said, hey, we're looking for some younger members. We really need to, get some youth into our membership. And I thought, okay, great. Well, how come we're not recruiting, at the Naval Academy, or, these people coming right out of school, and they're like, oh, no. That's when we say young, we mean people like who are between 40 and 60. So I'm like, yes, this is the only place I can come where I'm going to be one of the young people. This is great. But we have all kinds of people. We have all the way from first class midshipmen and cadets all the way through. We have a World War II or a couple of World War II guys who I get to meet when I'm out there, when I get to travel to see our chapters and council. So really a nice, diverse membership. Okay, so here's another cool thing that we're doing. This is the first time we've actually, other than our scholarship program, which is pretty darn cool too, we jumped in. We have a fantastic development department, started fundraising almost immediately after the pandemic hit, and had just a lot of generous donors and corporate donors, et cetera. And we were able to actually do, and still are, giving individual grants of $500 to families who are impacted by COVID financially. So it could be veteran family, active duty, as long as they have some relationship to the military, we are providing those grants for people, which is a pretty neat thing to do. And our chapters are out there involved in it too. We've got a chapter, say, in the middle of Arkansas, and they have a neighbor who was a veteran and has an issue paying their mortgage or paying a bill, and they identify them, and MOAA sends them a check. So this has been just a remarkable thing that we've been able to do to help individuals with COVID. And we'll probably keep this up for quite a while. Just kind of a neat thing that we do. So we're actually a 501, for those of you who are familiar with veteran service organizations, we're actually a 501c19, which means we can lobby but we can't really fund. If we fundraise, you don't get a tax deduction if you give your money to the 501c19. But we have two 501c3s. One of them is our foundation, who does all this cool stuff, a lot of stuff with spouses too, spouse employment. And then we have a 501c3 that's our scholarship fund. And those scholarships are available to all active duty and retired children of active duty or retired members, whether they are officers or enlisted. And we donate about, I want to say about $3 million a year, no, $13 million a year in, not donate, but provide grants and scholarships of $13 million a year to different children for college. So that's pretty awesome too. All right, let's see what else. A couple of things that catch people's attention. I just talked about $9 million. Okay, 1,300 students, $9 million for our scholarship fund. That building up on the upper left, some of you may or may not recognize that, but that's the Army Navy Club in DC. One of the things that gets people hooked into our life membership is we have a connection with Army Navy Club that waives your initiation fees if you're a MOAA life member. We have a team that runs every year in the Army 10 miler. I'll be doing that. Lots of our members join us. So even though this year it's virtual, we have a lot of fun with our organization, and we try and involve our members as much as we can. It's a culture of fitness. At MOAA, we do all kinds of fun stuff there. But so anyway, it's just kind of like an extension of being in the military. So it's a great place to work. The video, if you're interested in a fun video, you see that Happy Pi Day. I encourage you to watch that on my LinkedIn site. It was on YouTube. It was me and a coworker who is an Army grad, and we had a contest on who could slice the pie the best. And of course, she got to use a template, so I think she won. But it's a fun video. But that just kind of tells you a little bit about our organization. It's a great place to work, so I enjoy it a lot. Okay, so just wanted to show you, if you're interested in any of these things, these are some of the cool things that we have just immediately coming up within the next month. That hiring and networking event that's normally at Erin Space will be virtual this year. There's a really cool global security forum. If you're in that line of work, this is being held by one of our chapters in Connecticut. Assists with this this annual event every year. It's a really cool event, and that's free. Our Military Executive Transition Seminar is a one-day, I think some people in this group have actually done our MET program. That does cost some money, but it's a full-day intensive, help you write your resume, help you figure out how to network, all of that kind of stuff. And then just some examples of our webinars. We're always doing webinars, whether it's on benefits or transition, you'll see something all the time. And then if you happen to join before the end of October, you can come to our annual meeting of the membership. Everything on this list, yes, is virtual this year, which means you don't even have to travel to DC to do it. Okay, so here's us. Every year we storm the Hill and visit every single congressional office. We did it this year virtually, but still hit every single one of them. There's all my contact information there at the end. I encourage anybody who heard something that was interesting to you to at least link in with me. We do have a LinkedIn group on MOAA. It's the Military Officers Association of America, MOAA, career networking group. And we've got about 37,000 members in that group. So I would recommend signing up for that too on LinkedIn. At least call that 1-800 number there for MOAA, or go to our website and at least get your basic membership so you can get all this good information and stay a little bit connected with what's going on Capitol Hill that may impact you and or your former troops. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Erin, thanks so much. That was a whirlwind presentation, and I'm going to attach your PowerPoint to my email follow-up so that everybody can get to the links. I'm curious about something. So you've got this long list of issues that MOAA's advocated for on Capitol Hill and whatnot. How do you guys choose? Like, how do you decide which issues are important enough to go up the hill on?
That's a great question. We do lead what's known as the Military Coalition, and that's a coalition of 32 of the biggest veteran and military service organizations. So like the Purple Heart Association, the Disabled American Veterans, those 32 groups. And every year, at least, they meet quarterly, but I think our legislative priorities are partly informed by that. They're partly informed by our members. I don't recall actually if it was on that initial list that I put up there, but one of the things that, no, it wasn't. One of the things that has been a real interest item that came up from our members is, for those of you who may not know, Arlington National Cemetery is running out of space. And so they are having to change the criteria for those who can be interred or interred, whatever. You can either be cremated and put there or buried. And those are changing. And so people who for years and years and years have thought they're entitled to be buried in Arlington might not be. And so that kind of thing, that issue was raised to us, and that's a big interest item right now for MOAA is pushing for a study of what can be done and some different alternatives there. Same with military billet cuts. For those of you who don't know, the DOD said, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, it's kind of wholesale. We're going to cut 18,000 medical billets that serve the military with absolutely no warning, no study, nothing. And so they complained to MOAA, we raised it to Congress, and now at least there's language in the bill. Should we get an NDAA this year, there will be, hopefully will be language in there that stops that until that there's a study. So kind of all over, we've got our finger on the pulse. We do talk to DOD too, as well as the people on the Hill. So.
Interesting. One other question, if I may. I happen to notice on your COVID slide that one of the things that you guys are doing is providing housing to homeless vets. And I know that we've got at least one fellow, Bill Higgins, on the call, who's deeply involved in serving the homeless, the military homeless community. And I wonder if you could talk maybe just a little bit more about how, what sorts of interactions what sorts of services interactions, how do you get involved, how does MOAA get involved with homeless veterans?
I think largely that is through our chapters, because our chapters are out there in the communities. And so they will be able to spot these kinds of things, and we'll do grants, although they're all separate entities from us. We can provide them. We have a great partnership with USAA, for example. So USAA gives us money, and then we can give it to our chapters to support a homeless shelter for veterans, or to rebuild or refurbish memorials. So it's kind of all over the place. And that's probably where we are doing that, is within the communities. To my knowledge, I don't think we have any national partnerships that allow us to do that. I think that's community based. As you see, we had 18 chapters. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Those are the bill pay, but in addition to just these individual grants of $500, we were able to give, how many chapters? 11 chapters up to $5,000 each to support these kinds of projects. So those three are just kind of three examples, but there are a ton of them. We got, the chapters are doing some good stuff.